So let me just share this story. So I had this one student, okay, his name was Mike, and it was the wildest thing, dude. In here, right, he was like the fundamental like king, if you will. Like, dude, like this guy swing, like I could draw all my lines, and guess what? Like
right, every time.
Primo, right? Like you're just like what? Right. Then we get to the course, right? I think we were playing at Costa Mesa one day, right? And he gets up there like this, and he goes like this, and he's like, and I'm like, what the? I was like, I was like, oh my god! I'm like, that's insane, because like I had just seen him in here, right? And he's swinging, literally not swaying, like he's like perfect technique, right? He's like getting set up, he's literally staying in place like this and everything, right? And I'm like, I was thinking about it, and then because I've been teaching for a while, I knew what was going on. He was so worried about what was over there, right? He forgot what he was doing here.
Yeah.
And so then I told him on the next one, I said, listen, Mike, on the next shot, what I want you to do is I want you to, once you get set up, I said, I don't want you to look over there. I want you just to imagine that you're at my studio when you're over the ball and not look up, and just try and focus on doing your form like you do here with me. Knocks it on the green. Literally, he was hitting scud missiles with like this low slicing shot when he was obviously doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Then when I said to him, "Don't look up," he hits this thing dead center of the green, perfect shot. And it's like, well, why? Right? And it's because on the golf course, what everyone's dealing with, when we see all the stuff over there, you know, the bunkers, the lakes, whatever, and like the ball's here, and we think, how are we going to get it there? Instinctually, we start trying to, like, we call it help it there.
Right.
Versus just execute the form. And now he was an extreme case, but to some extent that was happening to you, Chris, out there a few times, where I think you're trying too hard to feel like you're just trying to hit it over there, and not getting enough over the ball, thinking about what you're doing with your form. I remember we started talking about that, and then you were hitting some shots where it was like better, and then if you weren't thinking about that, then you get some missed shots.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because really, honestly, how I felt is, I think you've been swinging in here better than you're swinging on the course.
Yeah.
More
consistently, for sure.
I think so. I think in here your form. So it'd be interesting to see today what your form's looking like after we do that test. But I wanted to share that story. You may want to try in your next game where once you get set up, you don't even look up. You just think about
what I need to do,
what you're doing as if you're here,
right,
and then see how you play. You may be better. I think you're one where once you start looking up here, that's like it's changing all of your lines. The other thing to sell you on this, if you will, that I want to share is with our vision, Chris, there's something called parallax in your vision, okay? Which is that whole thing where railroad tracks look like they get closer together. You know what I'm talking about? So it's like how the crisscrossing of information into our brain, how we take in the feedback for vision, and it's like this is a perfect example of what parallax does. And it's like you know that the railroad tracks are the same distance from each other the whole time, but they don't look like they are. They look to us like they are getting closer together, right? And so that's happening on the course. So when that's happening on the course, that makes what we see at far distance not like what we think, meaning like you can't see it like a straight line like you think. That's why we have to rely so heavily on an intermediate target, because what we can do, if we know our intermediate target is straight, let's say down the middle of the railroad tracks, well, then it'll be in the middle at the end of that, right? So then all we have to worry about is getting our toes to be parallel to the intermediate target. And then when you look, if you do look up eventually, you shouldn't care really what it looks like in terms of like trying to see your line, because it's not going to look quite right. What's weird is with a driver, it looks different to me than with a wedge. And it's because of this fact that as you get closer, it doesn't look the same.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
For sure, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I think that's important.